from MMA Fighting Studios, this is Between the Links. And now, your host, Mike Heck.
The iconic voice of Esther Lynn welcomes you to a brand new edition of BTL. We're back on another Thursday, same old show. New chair, though. Look at this bad boy. I look like I'm freaking Dr. Claw or something from Inspector Gadget, but a lot to discuss, as always, on today's edition of the program. So let us introduce the combatants first. He's back. He took a week off, but now the takes shall be even spicier, I would assume, from MMAfighting.com, Mr. No Gray Area himself, Jed Bishu. Hi, Jed. Feeling refreshed?
Hey. No, not at all. I forgot I had a dentist appointment until like the evening before. And I was like, whoops, can't do it. I'll be under the knife and just deeply intoxicated on nitrous oxide, which, you know, was kind of fun. But we're not here to talk about that. We're here to talk about other stuff and in the fight world. So whoopee.
Yay. And back on the program, he's MMA Fighting's road warrior, resident coffee guru. In fact, we got to grab some coffee this past Saturday in the NYC, and he's an enthusiast of high-level fisticuffs, the social media giant himself, the sleeveless Jose Youngs. How are you, buddy?
I feel great.
It's finally look at the biceps.
We finally have nice days in New York. It's overcast, but high 70s. So, you know, I forgot when I left the Northeast how unbearably humid this place gets. So that's fun, but at least we can go outside in sleeveless shirts now.
Nice. Well, let us get into it. The UFC's latest pay-per-view offering is in the books. Unfortunately, not a lot of people seem to care all that much, which is a little bit unfortunate because it was a pretty fun watch. Had a good competitive championship main event. We had some nostalgia, some big finishes, and even some revenge. So, Jose, let us begin with you. When you look back at 2024, a few years from now, and you're asked about UFC 301 specifically, how will you remember this card?
It's not going to be in the top 10 pay-per-views of the year of 2024. I'll say that much. Most likely, because I know UFC 297 wasn't that great either. That was the first one in January, but you know, I think the build-up for that had a lot of unfortunate conversations that popped up, so people are going to remember it for that. And I'm not talking about quality of card, I'm just talking about things that people will remember. So I think UFC 297 will be remembered for going back to Toronto, the Sean Strickland show, the Drekus win and all that. And then February was the Ilia Topuria show. March was the Sean O'Malley show. April was UFC 300. So UFC 301 is probably the least memorable pay-per-view of the year so far, and we've only hopefully gotten bigger and better ones coming. I know there seems to be a lull in late summer with lack of headliners or lack of announced headliners, and for whatever reason, I think UFC 308 is announced for Abu Dhabi in October, which if you're doing the math, UFC 305 is in August, and then UFC 308 is in October, which means there has to be two pay-per-views between the August pay-per-view and then the Abu Dhabi pay-per-view, unless they rename things. So hopefully we can get some fun pay-per-view headliners then. But as of right now, UFC 301 is probably the least memorable pay-per-view. Fun card, like you said, like very fun finishes, and I'm sure we'll talk about that by the end of the year. But overall, top to bottom, 301 is probably going to fall into that category of like when Jamal Hill fought Glover Teixeira. Like people just didn't really talk about that pay-per-view after it happened, especially after everything that happened last year. So the fifth best pay-per-view of the year, I would say, so far.
Jed, how will you remember this one?
I will say to Jose, we do have 306 too, because 306 is the Sphere. So There's just 307 is going to happen early October, I guess.
I'm going to guess that's in a place that they usually go to that they haven't announced yet, but they signed a deal with. That's all I can probably say.
Yeah, we're on the same page. I don't think I'm going to say anything totally different, but I'm going to come at this from a different angle, right? Because sure, this is probably the least memorable pay-per-view, but we could have said that coming in. Like this is a pay-per-view being headlined by Alexandre Pantoja versus a guy that no one knows in Steve Erceg. that it doesn't have the top billing like Volkanovski Topuria was, or certainly the changing of the guard moment. So it's not memorable in that way. I think this is the third best pay-per-view of the year if you are just talking about watching the part you paid money for. Like, nothing's ever going to top 300. That just has too much going for it. And 299 was also exceptional. But like, though those are real outliers in terms of pay-per-view quality fight cards anyway. And so it's no shame to come up short next to those. But 298 like clearly has the fun ending moment. Ilia Topuria sort of ascends. The rest of that card, the rest of the main card, not talking about the parts that you get to watch on ESPN, stuff you paid the $80 for. Pretty mid, like just a lot of decisions, fights that are fine, but not like things that are exciting. Whereas this one, we got some squash matches. We got Anthony Smith pulling off a massive upset. We got the return of the GOAT, and then we got a very competitive back and forth fun title fight. Like, I think this is just based on the quality of the viewing experience, the third best pay-per-view of the year from an enjoyment standpoint, even if it did kind of feel like a fight night and ultimately we're not going to remember too much about it.
Yeah, and I would say there's two real storylines that came out of this, if you even want to call it that. One was right at the very top with Alexandre Pantoja, Jed, and Steve Erceg, Vinny Siggs, and good old Vincenzo went in there and put up one hell of a fight. A lot of people felt like he beat Alexandre Pantoja, but you talk about different weapons all the time, just hit really hard. Athleticism is a cheat code. You also talk about the importance of durability and how big of a weapon that is. And if that is the case, Alexandre Pantoja is a man demon. This man cannot be hurt. He can't be knocked down. And it was such a big weapon for him in this fight. Plus, he was able to just battle it out and do Pantoja things, and he got the unanimous decision win. Biggest takeaway, Jed, from that fight, and to add a little wrinkle to this, what should be next for Pantoja after taking some time off, as you said, after the fight?
It's such a cheat code, Mike. It is such a fucking cheat code to just be impervious to harm. It's ridiculous. It just makes it so you're not fighting a fair fight. Because if I'm invulnerable and you are vulnerable, even if you are much better at all other parts of fighting, just the law of numbers, eventually I get to boop you and you die and you can never hurt me. It's such a ridiculous cheat code. And like, Max Holloway is obviously very, very good at fighting, but it's also backed up by like the world's biggest cheat code and that you can't hurt him. And when Jose Aldo fought Max Holloway, like that was when it really solidified for me. Because like, you just see the difference in the Jose Aldo versus Max Holloway and like Jose versus Jonathan Martinez, this fight, right? Where like Martinez started to do something and Jose would be like, oh, it's time to hit him real hard. And then he'll back the fuck up. And he did that. Max was like, whatever, we're cool. The same principles apply for Pantoja. He is not a striker that you would ever tell people, be like, you should fight like him. That is the textbook. That's model your striking game after him. Particularly against like a guy like Erceg, who is so much bigger than him physically, he really struggled to get inside and do things appropriately. So it was just like, whatever, YOLO. I'm going to walk in. He can hit me. It's going to be fine. I'll eat that elbow and maybe I'll cut, but I won't be concussed. And then I'm in the space I want to be. It's a ridiculous cheat code, and his game is in some ways built around it. And good. That's what you should do when you have serious advantages. You should build your game around those, and Pantoja clearly has. And so my biggest takeaway is like, I knew that he was very tough and very durable, but at some point you just keep watching it over and over again. You're like, oh, he actually just can't. He just really does have one of those all-time chins. Like, you just can't ever crack him, because those elbows from Erceg, like that was clearly a plan. They looked at it and were like, he is going to step in. We might not catch him with the mitts coming in just because of the timing, but he is going to put himself into this space, and I will meet him with bone into his temple, and that will be the decider. And it happened exactly like it was drawn up, and it didn't do a goddamn thing to stop that man, because he cannot be killed. And so good for you. That's unbelievable.
And what should be next for Pantoja?
Oh, I forgot what should be next. Oh, they just announced yesterday. I think it was yesterday, right? Kopp versus Mikhaev is taking place at the Manchester card. timeline works out perfectly. The winner of that gets the title fight. Amir Albazi, sucks to be you. But Pants already said he wants to sit out. I think he's kind of targeting late into the year, December. Lines up perfectly. The winner of Makhachev Cop, I think there can be no bones about that. The winner of that fight deserving a title fight. Knock on wood, assuming it happens. Manel Cop making it to fight week has been pretty hit or miss in the last couple of years, but assuming that fight happens, that's a clear number one contender bout.
Jose, biggest takeaway from the main event, was it on the champion side? Was it on Steve Urseg's side? And do you agree with Jed that the Cop Makhachev winner should be next?
Biggest takeaway, I would agree with Jed. It's just the durability. And Demetrius Johnson basically said, how did he describe it? Like, he's not going out there and just like dominating you. He's just kind of pulling out these wins and fighting strategically, which is good on you, man. I think he's Pantoja's 7-0 against the top 5 of the UFC flyweight division. So wins are the most important thing in sports. And I know using the term sports when describing mixed martial arts, specifically the UFC, is kind of an argument unto itself, but I choose to view it as a sport. Being 7-0 against the elite of the elite is very impressive. Alexandre Pantoja, though, it's in that unfortunate, like, we look fondly back at Brandon Moreno's run because every single fight he was in was unbelievable. Demetrius Johnson was the one of, if not the most dominant champions in the history of this entire sport. Davidson Figueiredo had that quadrilogy, whatever you guys are calling it these days, against Brandon Moreno, and every single one was an absolute banger. And Pantoja is just really good and beat a lot of the guys that are in the top 5 on the way to winning the title. And this is, that argument that people always say, like, oh, like Max Holloway beat everyone in that top 5 or whatever on en route to winning the featherweight title against Jose Aldo, and then basically he just lapped the division. Pantoja's lapping the division in just a less flashy, exciting way. So I think Pantoja is going to be an underappreciated champion for a very long time, especially if he just, quote unquote, just keeps winning and not just melting or running over people and is just putting on durable, high-level performances. I do agree Manel Cop versus Muhammad Makhachev is the fight to make for the number one contender. If Manel Cop can make weight and win, I would love to see that fight. I think we had this conversation the last Thursday, right? Like, Manel Cop hasn't really beaten anyone in the top 15. So Muhammad Makhachev is also, I know people are kind of down on him a bit because his last 2 performances haven't been overly stellar or exciting, but the man has proved he can fight 15 minutes against the top 10 of the flyweight division. Good on him. Manel Cop hasn't fought anyone really high up in the top 15, so this will answer kind of both questions. Neither one, I can't imagine Manel Cop is going to be a boring fight. His last fight in Sydney was a lot of fun. I don't know what Amir Albazi should do, though, because he seemed to be the number one contender, and now if Pantoja's taking some time off, it wants to come back in December, unless they throw a boatload of money at him to fight Amir Albazi on the Abu Dhabi card, maybe a co-main event. That could work too, because money talks. I just sucks to be Amir Albazi, just like Jed said. And I don't know what Kai Kara-France is up to. Kai Kara-France called out Steve Urseg for the Perth card, which is seeming to make sense. Australia versus New Zealand. Steve Urseg is from Perth. That would be a lot of fun. And then Amir Albazi is once again the last man standing without an opponent.
Yeah, he's going to have to fight Brandon Royval probably. I mean, that's
cool.
Pretty much all that's really available, which I'm okay with.
Getting to fight the number one guy is a pretty decent consolation prize.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
you
number
Brandon
one,
Royval, you
rankings,
also get a title shot.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Perhaps.
Maybe it's a bit of a. I wouldn't hate it if they threw Royval and Brandon Royval on that Manchester card too, or Royval versus Albazi on that Manchester card too. Similar. Number one, Machida fought Bader and Shogun fought Brandon Vera, and Dana was like, whoever has the most exciting finish gets the next title shot. Just do that. Just do that.
I like that idea.
Except if Royval beats Albazi, then I don't care. Just whoever wins from Makhachev Cop gets the title shot.
Sure.
I don't need to see Royval fight Pants again like this soon.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about Jose Youngs. This guy is just so damn
Let me
good.
also jump in with one thing that neither of us mentioned because I don't think it's apparent. Pants is now the only fighter in flyweight history with 2 title defenses. He is second only to Demetrius Johnson in title defenses. And I feel like that kind of went under the radar. But like Jose said, wins are what matters. And he is now the definitionally the second best flyweight in UFC history which is pretty good when number one is maybe the best fighter of all time.
He's like the Rafael
Great.
Sunso flyweight division. Just his biggest problem is he's winning and not overly exciting.
Yeah.
That's such a crazy stat. It really is.
It's wild.
They played hot potato for
so
too long.
They really did. It was Moreno and Figgy and Moreno, and now it's Pants and still Pants. Back and forth, hot potato. So this division is going to be pretty interesting. Obviously not in a headline spot. Even Demetrius Johnson had some things to say. He's like, look, if you're going to put flyweights in the main event, like, don't do it anymore. If you're not even going to trot them out there for a freaking press conference, then what are we even doing here? Why bother? So I definitely understand where DJ is coming from, and he would know better than anybody. But Jose Youngs, man, this guy just continues to do the damn thing. Another masterclass from the legends, from the Hall of Famer against Jonathan Martinez, who came in on a 6-fight win streak. A lot of the comments that I've been getting and seeing is that, I mean, Jose looked good, but Jonathan just didn't show up. And I just completely disagree with that sentiment altogether. But Jose is now a free agent, fought out his deal with the UFC. He's open to coming back to the UFC. It seems like the comfort levels are certainly there. But there's going to be a lot of people knocking on the door of one Jose Aldo. So now that he's a free agent, Jose, what would be the most interesting result for this Aldo free agency story? Is it coming back to the UFC and maybe making one last run at the bantamweight title, or is it going somewhere else and match him up against some different bantamweights who aren't in the UFC but would still be compelling matchups? What do you think?
This is one of those rare instances. It's not similar to Nate Diaz. Like, yeah, Nate Diaz went on this big win and then he went and fought Jake Paul, but Nate Diaz was not in talks to possibly fighting for the title and looked better than ever. Like, Nate and Tony didn't look that great when they fought back on that September pay-per-view before Nate, won and went off into the sunset and fought Jake and has kind of flirted with the idea of coming back with the UFC. This is Jose Aldo has looked just as good as he's ever been against a younger opponent who's been kicking fools all the way into like the top 10 at bantamweight. Now I assume he's fallen out. Jose Aldo is the greatest featherweight ever. Alex Volkanovski said it. Max Holloway says it. Those are the two other people in that argument. If those two people say it, I'm not going to argue with those two. They spent more time in the octagon with Jose Aldo than I have. Jose Aldo can do whatever he wants. I don't care what he does. It's one of those rare instances where I don't think there's a wrong decision. I want to see him fight Dominic Cruz. That would be my number one choice. There's also other people in the bantamweight division. I just selfishly want to see him fight as a martial artist. I want to see him rematch Petr Yan in front of a crowd because the first time they fought was on Fight Island in that bubble. Now that Davis and Figueiredo is in the bantamweight division, I am all about Davis and Figueiredo versus Jose Aldo. Like, the Song Yadong fight would just be awesome boxing in a UFC octagon. But if he wants to go to the boxing route, I wouldn't hate that either. Fight the winner of Chris Avila versus Anthony Pettis, or fight Anthony Pettis in karate combat, like that crazy karate combat president said in one of our post-fight scrums. So, or if he wants to go to PFL or whatever you want to call it, and we finally get Jose Aldo versus Patricio Pitbull, or Jose Aldo versus Aaron Pico, or Jose Aldo versus Patrick Mix. I'm for all of these fights. There is no wrong answer. I just want to see Jose Aldo fight Dominic Cruz. That would be my number one choice. But if he goes in any direction, I'm fine with it. Especially like if he goes to fight at 135 and he goes to like one championship and we could get a 135-pound fight between Jose Aldo and Demetrius Johnson would also be great too. Don't care who he fights. Don't care where he fights. There are options for Jose Aldo everywhere that would be interesting. And it's really that rare. We haven't really experienced this. Yeah, Conor went and fought Floyd, but he was still top to the UFC. Jose Aldo is still the man and is still melting fools and running over people. And there are infinite choices for him. And I'm here for all of them.
Jed, what's the most interesting result here? What do you want to see? I mean, Jose's not wrong. All these options are fun in their own way. But if you had the pencil, if you were Jose's manager and you were like convincing him to do one thing or the other, just for your own selfish freaking reasons, what are you telling him?
Signing with the UFC it'd be fine. We could get the Dominic Cruz fight. That'd be okay. And if the UFC decides to do the appropriate thing for the vibes and just fire him right into a title fight against the winner of Merab and O'Malley, then I won't be upset about it. Like, we'd be okay with Jose getting one last run at it, et cetera, et cetera. The issue is when he re-signs with the UFC it won't be a 2-fight contract. That's just not, the UFC doesn't do business that way. It'll be 6 fights and that'll be the end of his career. Will be maybe 1 or 2 fights that we want to see. And then like, okay, you can either choose to not fight or we're going to have you fight Umar or do some other. And again, those aren't awful, but that's just not the vibes. This man is 37. Like I don't care about him fighting the Jonathan Martinez's of the world. Made somewhat of sense for like the position we were in now, but we don't need to go back into that. The best choice is, I think, signing with PFL Tour. But Jose did touch on one that I didn't think he was going to bring up, which is kind of the secret ambition of my heart, which is that he will just fight Demetrius Johnson and not sign with one, just be like, I will do 1 fight against DJ at 135 pounds. Your hydration stuff is stupid. We're not going to pretend that that's true or whatever, because that would be awesome. I would love that so very much. Do that and then come to PFL Tour, because the Patchy Mix fight, everyone is salivating over that. The Patricio Pitbull fight, that fight's past its due date, right? But it's still good. Like, we got Chuck versus Vanderlei, and even though that was clearly well after like when it would have been peak, it still tasted good. It went down smooth. And so
that fight
that
ruled.
one as well. Yeah, that fight was awesome. Like, you could watch it and be like, yeah, this isn't the height. Like, this isn't whatever that was, 2004 GP, where I think was when they were trying to set it up. It wasn't like what it would have been then, but it was still great. And we can get the same thing with Pitbull Aldo. And I think that would be, to me, the PFL Tour is just the best case, because Jose gets paid the most money. They will back up the Brinks truck because they spend money like they got it. And then we can get a couple of good matchups there to kind of, make us all happy and kickstart PFL's bantamweight division in a substantive, meaningful way. So the best way to eat this Reese's is PFL Tour. If just before that happens, he goes and fights Demetrius Johnson, because that would make me real happy.
I think PFL has to sign Jose. I think it's like a must. It's a must sign for them. They got to do it. Figure it out. Overpay him. Overpay him to the point where the UFC cannot match the offer.
Then he can box Jake Paul. Jake loves to box old guys he's a lot bigger than. So Jose Aldo,
isn't
Jake Paul,
that like a 70-pound difference?
I'd still pick Jose. He's good. He's actually good at fighting.
Yeah. I mean, 70 pounds and several inches is a lot of is.
It is, massive. But legit, like, I'm not even kidding. I think I'd pick Jose, because Jose Aldo's issues, like, he's the best defensive fighter of all time. His issues are when you throw in combination. Jake Paul still hasn't figured out combination punching. He would jab and Jose would parry it and pop him and just keep moving. It'd be great.
Yeah, maybe.
I mean, we're really getting after it here. All right, let us move on. There's some other things to discuss. Point for round one goes to... There is, I promise you. Great round. Jose Young's on the board, 1-0. Nicely done. Jed, what is the right way to eat a Reese's, in your opinion?
When I was younger, I liked to punch out the middle and eat the just soft middle part first, and then, have the edges after. Now I just like it like a little bit chilled, and then I just take a couple bites. You want to savor it. You want to enjoy it and get the good snap of a cold, kind of rigid edges. What's up?
Love it. Love it.
Also, a hot take.
Oh,
hot take. I absolutely believe that regular Reese's are better than the like holiday specialty Reese's, which have more peanut butter to chocolate ratio.
Even the pumpkin's a good time. And the egg.
Yeah. I mean, the shapes are fun. Don't get me, but you don't have those don't come with the snappy edges part, because it's just a different shape. So it doesn't have the like whatever you call the rifling of the edges or whatever. Yeah.
That's a good point. Well, it's time for round two, which means it's time to talk about Jed Mesheau's favorite fighter, the man he considers, if you listen to the post-fight show, he spoke, so emotionally about this man being the greatest fighter in the history of combat sports. He has a poster on his wall. Ooh. No, we're not talking about Jose Aldo. We're talking about Jed Mesheau, the UFC heavyweight champion, Jon Jones. Yes, Jed. Jon Jones
heavyweight champion by that name.
He jumps on Twitter last week, and he asked a question that created quite a stir. So let me just pull this up real quick. This is from MMAfighting.com. Great website. If Alex P, he means Alex Pereira, became champion of the heavyweight division, would you guys consider him the GOAT? Being back in the gym has got me thinking differently. That fight after Stipe may be the next biggest move I could possibly make. This killer has already defeated so many champions and is already considered a legend to millions around the world. The most massive fight the UFC could make. Give Alex a chance to avenge all those great Brazilian champions I've defeated. It would be absolutely massive. A guy with the chance to be 3-division champion and a GOAT versus the actual GOAT. Same age, different strengths. No one can argue that that would be the biggest fight in MMA history. There's absolutely no fight that generates a payday like that. Marketing would be insane. Of course, Jed, there is Tommy Aspinall, the interim heavyweight champion. Everybody wants to see those two guys battle it out. John responded to a comment, which there is a plethora of them when it comes to Jones and Aspinall. And he says this, quote, "You actually think me fighting Tom would be more massive than Alex and I colliding? Tom only matters in the UK, newsflash. Pereira is one of the most polarizing figures the sport has seen. Tom's a contender who won a belt against another contender. We had to save Madison Square Garden's main event. I'm thinking dollar signs, legacy, big picture, not what UK fans are dying to see. Literally just went through this with the French fans." So, Jed, I just read sort of the meat and potatoes of this. I'm sure there are other comments and replies. Besides pointing to the whiteboard there, what is your reaction to this? The floor is yours.
I don't need to say it's on the board. This is that scene in Moneyball. Guys, you're going to make me point at Pete again. It's just it. Like, this started as a gimmick. I'll break kayfabe. Like, it was a gimmick. We're going to gaslight Jon Jones into actually fighting Tom Aspinall because that's the fight that matters. It's not a gimmick anymore. He just doesn't want the smoke. Like, it's the most transparent. I do not want to fight that dude of all time that I have ever seen. Other than when Jermaine Durandamy gave up her belt because she didn't want to fight Cyborg. It was like, I don't need to be the featherweight champion. I would rather not fight Chris Cyborg. Thank you very much. Like, this is just like, read the language of John's tweet. Like, just read it. Like, oh, that's the most polarizing figure, not the most deserving, not the best, not the legacy defining one that he's pretending it's about. It's, ooh, this is the one. And really what it is I get to fight another middleweight. You guys might let me fight another middleweight, and I can gaslight a certain people into believing that me beating this middleweight at heavyweight, this middleweight striker at heavyweight, will make me the GOAT. Like, no, it's just, and thank God, like, there is a certain subset of people who are going to buy it because they're just, I don't know, they're simpletons, and that's okay. It's not a crime to be an idiot, but a vast majority of people seem to have come around to the idea that this is ridiculous nonsense. Maybe it's the fact that Stipe hasn't won a fight in 3 years, or I'm sorry, hasn't fought in 3 years and hasn't won a fight in this century. Maybe it's just the fact that, like, no one cares about that fight, and John is so focused on a fight that truly only he, Stipe, and Dana seem to have any interest in. But, like, when we did our rankings drop this week and John dropped out of the top pound for pound fight, like our top 5 pound for pound list, there was no backlash. There was no, like, how are you not going to have the GOAT in the top? Everyone was like, yeah, it's fair. It's fine. Like, he doesn't fight anybody, and when he does fight, it's going to be against Stipe, so who gives a shit? Like, it is such a transparently horseshit thing where, like, oh, maybe now I can sell this. And the answer is simple. He's going to fight Stipe and he's going to retire. And if the public got behind the Pereira thing, then he would have fought Pereira, because that is good. And I want to be really clear. It is excellent prize fighting. This is elite level prize fighting. As Casey loves to note all the time, the sport is the sport. Prize fighting is prize fighting. And this is A+, because it would be a big pay-per-view. It's John versus Pereira, 2 big stars, 3-division champion. All that's true. No risk, because he would absolutely dump truck Alex. Not no risk, but like substantially less risk than fighting Tom Aspinall, who, you know, probably beats him, just straight up, probably beats him at this point in time and doesn't have the same name that Pereira does. Excellent prize fighting, dog shit championship effort. Until he fights Tom Aspinall, I have no qualms calling that man a chicken and a coward, and chickens can't be goats, baby. We've checked the math on it. Can't happen. So get the fuck out of my face with the John's the GOAT stuff. Nope. Just not. It's just not. I've never seen the GOAT run from a fight like this. And if you think I'm wrong, John, if someone clips this and sends this to you, prove me wrong. Fucking fight him. Fucking fight him. Fight Tom Aspinall. Prove me wrong. I win either way.
It's great. As great as the rant was, the just random thumbs up emoji was the best part. Just floated perfectly. Yeah. Oh, I still don't
the
even know
internet
how to do that.
understands. The technology agrees with me. Can't happen. Can't happen.
Unreal. Jose, are you as passionate about these tweets from one Jon Jones?
No, because I just don't put much stock into anyone saying anything when, they can just fist fight rather than tweet. I don't particularly care who Jon fights. There are arguments for both. Obviously, Tom Aspinall would be the infinitely harder fight, and I'm actually with Jed. I think Tom Aspinall beats Jon Jones, especially right now. Jon Jones in his prime, if he had gone to heavyweight, would be a different story, but the way it stands right now, Tom in 2024, I think would beat Jon Jones in 2024, just especially coming off of that shoulder surgery. Alex Pereira would be as Jed said, would be the easier fight and probably make more money. I guess you run the risk of getting punched in the face by the hardest hitter and allegedly the hardest hitter in the history of the UFC, who apparently is also a black belt for knocking people out. But yeah, I'm not. Jed pretty much said it all. I'm not going to go on record saying Jon Jones is a coward. Anyone that's taken short notice fights against Shogun Rua, I wouldn't call him a coward. That's a scary situation unto itself. I will say he's being oddly strategic for really the first time in his career, in a very specific moment when this big scary heavyweight from the UK has burst onto the scene and has been everything we're saying about Tom now, like athletic, fast, moves differently than any other heavyweight. We were saying about Jon at light heavyweight. I want to see that fight as a high level martial arts fight, but I would also be here if Jon just ran over Alex Pereira, because that would just generate more interest on the site, I would say, and probably do better for business. But if you ask me, give me the Tom Aspinall fight. I just want to see high level martial arts, and I think the UK fans deserve. I think the UK fans deserve it.
I was talking to Eric Nixick yesterday. That interview is going to drop, I think, at the top of the hour now. And Tom Aspinall was at Extreme Couture, and he was just like blown away by Tom Aspinall. He's like, everything they say about him is true, and then some. It's just insane to see him. They said he was moving around with like Kai Kamaka, and he moved like just as quick and just as fluid as a freaking featherweight, which is wild for a guy that size. So real quick before we move on to one other topic, before we move to round 3, Jose, I'll go back to you. If Dana White in the next couple of days goes on Instagram, starts making fight announcements, and he announces that the main event of UFC 304 in Manchester is not what you think it's going to be. It is actually Jon Jones versus Tom Aspinall for the undisputed heavyweight title. I don't think it's going to happen.
No.
But anything can happen. How surprised, on a scale of 1 to 10, how surprised would you be?
Absolutely flabbergasted that they would have Jon Jones fight Tom Aspinall at like 11 p.m. local time, or like actually not even, because isn't that when the pay-per-view starts? So it'd be like Sunday morning local time. I would
be good for Jon, though. It'd be right in his wheelhouse time frame wise.
I would be absolutely gobsmacked if Jon Jones fought Tom Aspinall in Manchester at UFC 304. That would be, that scenario I've never thought of that scenario. I probably will never think of that scenario. It's just not going to happen. It's just never going to happen unless you give, like Jon would demand 8 figures for that to happen at minimum. Never going to happen.
And they should give it to him. How would you react, Jed? Would you take back all the things you said about Jon, or do you feel like sort of that you led this? Would you take a victory lap for leading this revolution, so to speak?
No, because an announcement is far different from a thing actually happening. Sure, they could announce it, and I would be very stunned. I would be as flabbergasted as possible that Jon even ponied up enough courage to sign a contract, right? Because he can't. Chicken. Bark, bark, bark. Chicken, chicken, chicken. There's a very big difference between actually, getting gaslit into signing the contract and then having to spend the next 3 months doing the thing that you don't want to do, when at any point you can call out. You say, oh, my shoulder's acting up. Oh, I can't do it. Oh, Stipe's back. I can't do it. Oh, the UK fans, I can't. Like, he could duck out for any reason. You know, like there's always a cage to hide under. And Jon can always find one of those if he needs it. So if they announced it and it happened, it would be the most shocking thing that's maybe ever happened in the history of the sport, because he is a coward and a chicken. It would be dope. And I've said many times on this and other programs, I will stop my language towards Jon the day he does fight Tom Aspinall and puts up or shuts up. Until then, he ain't my GOAT, and I hope he's not yours, because this is nonsense.
Well, we'll see. I don't think it's going to happen, but
no chance.
Let's
zero chance.
Let's touch on a fight that actually was announced. And Jed, I'll start with you. There's merit high-level fighting. The fights we're supposed to get versus the fights that make the most money. I totally understand that. But we got a big one. 135 pounds, August 3rd, Abu Dhabi. Fight night event. It's going to be 5 rounds. Cory Sandhagen, Jed, versus Umar Nurmagomedov. As everybody knows, this is supposed to be the main event of UFC Nashville back in August of this past year. Umar gets hurt. Rob Font steps in, faces Cory Sandhagen, who was also hurt heading into that fight, and it was not a memorable performance. Cory basically fought Rob Font with one arm and just took him down a whole bunch. And now it appears we're getting it in around 3 months' time with everybody good to go and as healthy as they could be anyways. I assume you're very much into this, Jed Meshew, especially as a guy who is so extremely high on Umar Nurmagomedov.
Hell yeah, this fight rocks. If it's possible to be less cowardly, the exact opposite levels of cowardly to Jon, Cory Sandhagen's that dude. Because Cory Sandhagen not to take this fight. He didn't have to fight Umar. Like, I look right now, he's on 3-4 fight win streak in the weight class, all good top level wins. Like, in a normal division that didn't have a whole lot of weirdness happening, and a champion who's like not trying to fight all that many people, frankly. Cory Sandhagen would pretty clearly be all right, I probably don't even have to fight, right? Like, I'm just next up. I get to weigh in as the backup for Merab, and I'm the next dude in line. But he recognizes that that's not the case. And even if that were the case, he wouldn't care, because Cory's like, hear him talk in all of his interviews. He says it all the time. He's not about the sitting around and waiting and trying to get there. He's just about the business. And like, I'm here to fight. I would like to see if I'm the best. And I learned that by fighting people. And here's the dude no one else wants to fight. I'll fight him. Screw it. Like, I don't give a fuck. Oh, you want me to do it in Saudi? I don't give a fuck. I will do that as well. Like, he is about that action. And Cory Sandhagen is a boss for taking this fight. My early impressions are like, I'm going to pick Umar because I think Umar is probably actually the best bantamweight in the world. But that's like so speculative. Like, we just don't know. We haven't got to see him ply his trade in a long time anyway. And just against this level of opposition, this is a huge step up for him against a guy who also is maybe the best bantamweight in the world right now. This is a top level fight happening with the biggest stakes possible, because the winner of this will get a title shot. And both sides of it are interesting and dope. Like, this is like I said, it's the exact opposite of what Jon's doing. And it's why I respect the shit out of Cory Sandhagen.
Jose, you must love this fight, right?
Mm-hmm. This fight rules. This fight slaps. Cory Sandhagen is... There are a few fighters in this industry that I respect more than Cory Sandhagen, both in and out of the octagon. We've had a lot of great conversations about non-MMA things. Oddly enough, while he was he was getting ready to weigh in. Remember on the MMA Hour yesterday, he was discussing how he kind of mistimed his sleep and weight cut schedule with the press conference before he fought Petr Yan, which was my pick for fight of the year that year, Petr Yan versus Cory Sandhagen. And I think that Petr Yan that fought Cory Sandhagen, we all talked about this when we did the UFC 200 watch along party. I think that's the best bantamweight I've ever seen fight, and Cory Sandhagen was right there neck and neck with him for a while. Cory Sandhagen was deep into his weight cut, looked like he was going to keel over any minute, calls me over and has about a 30-minute discussion about why 36 Chambers is the best hip-hop album of all time. I'm here for it. Cory Sandhagen eventually immediately became one of my guys. He just happens to be one of the best fist fighters in the world. And yeah, I'm with all you guys. Like, I don't know how you can not respect Cory Sandhagen. Like even Sean O'Malley, I remember when this original announcement was made last year, Sean O'Malley was like, I just don't understand what Cory's doing because that is such a risky situation for not a lot of attention. Cory Sandhagen could be the best bantamweight in the world right now. Umar could be the best bantamweight in the world right now. I think Cory's getting him at the perfect time because we haven't seen Umar fight 5 rounds. We've not seen him fight anyone in the top 10, let alone top 5. Cory's been fighting guys in the top 10, top 5 for the last several years. He's said himself on the MMA Hour, he's probably on the back half of his career in the second chapter. Because when did he make his UFC debut? 2016, 2017? And he just kind of skyrocketed up and immediately got compared to Dominic Cruz. So he's been kind of earmarked as one of these future title contenders for years. If he beats Umar, no-brainer title shot. If Umar beats Cory Sandhagen, no-brainer he deserves a title shot. I think this is a perfect fight for Abu Dhabi. I think it's a perfect 5-round main event. Much respect for Cory Sandhagen. Much respect for Umar Nurmagomedov. I think this is the definition of absolute high-level martial arts at its finest.
Yep. This is a must-make fight. We're getting it. Everyone gets no points. It's a beautiful thing. Speaking of points, let's award one for round 2 before we move on to round 3. UFC heading to St. Louis, Missouri. Let's see. This comparison is about the same. Cory's a journeyman, just trying to get the belt. Jon is the champion, thinking about creating the biggest legacy. Please, Jed, respond. To your buddy Cross, by the way. He's back.
Cross, your first take was better than this one. This is just a simpleton take, and that's okay. Like I said, nothing wrong with being dumb. A lot of people in the comments coming with the energy of can't believe you call someone who fights a coward. Like, one, I don't know if you know what cowardice is, but it doesn't have anything really to do with fighting. And I just think most of you probably haven't been in fights. Fighting don't hurt. It's fine. Like, it sucks, but it's fine. There's cowardice levels. Cross, this is just, sure, that is a way to approach this. And it's not necessarily a wrong view to have. But I would just ask you to look inward, Cross, and be like, why am I so okay with Jon just feeding me a pile of bullshit for his best interests? Why am I not more selfishly wanting him to do the thing that is the standard practice across the sport as a whole? And B, certainly the more entertaining, better option for me as a consumer. You're allowed to think both of those things. You're allowed to think it would be much cooler to watch him fight the actual other best heavyweight in the world and to settle this, as they have done time immemorial when there's been an interim champion. He's fought the heavyweight champion and they have unified the titles. And so any opinion that is like, it's fine, Jon's doing this. Like, again, this is terrific prize fighting. Jon's doing A+ prize fighting. You shouldn't give a shit about that. You should give a shit about the best product for you to view. And that's just that simple.
All right. Well, here we go. Point for round 2 goes to Cross's best bud, Jed Bashoud. Nicely done. 1-1. And just brings a fever pitch to this discussion. And we'll see what ends up happening in the heavyweight division. Shout out to Umar. Shout out to Cory Sandhagen. That fight is, as Jose said, is going to slap. UFC heading to St. Louis this weekend. Yes. Back to the gateway to the West. And in the main event, we got Derrick Lewis versus Rodrigo Nascimento. When St. Louis came a-calling, the governing body called the UFC and said, dude, you got to give us Rodrigo Nascimento in this main event. I don't care who he fights. You got to give it to us. And boy, oh boy,
I think it went the other way.
Yeah. Boy, oh boy, the UFC delivered. We got Joaquin Buckley shooting his shot. He doesn't get the headliner. He gets the co-main event against Nursultan Rudzabayev, who's moving down to 170 on super short notice. And we'll talk about that in a little bit more. But Jose, coming off of UFC 301, again, not a ton of buzz. We're not going to really remember this one moving forward outside of just a hardcore fun watch. Do you like this card? Does this one scream, if I had other things to do, I'm skipping them to watch UFC St. Louis?
No, it doesn't. There are very fun fight. This is one of those rare. This is basically an Apex card in St. Louis. Like, I'm here for Chase Hooper versus whoever. I'm here for Alex Pereira versus Sean Woodson. Like, I like Terrence McKinney, Tabitha Ricci, Tisha Pennington will be a fun fight. But like, there's not a whole lot of title implications, top 5 matchups. Oh, the winner of this will be a number 1 contender fight. It's just not going to happen. It just seems like they promised St. Louis something, and there were a lot of fights that they needed to make that they threw on this card. What was the original co-main event? Was it the Menafiel-Ulberg fight?
Yes.
Like, Ulberg was supposed to fight Dominic Reyes. That fight probably would have made more sense because Carlos Ulberg would have beaten a guy that, beat the guy that Jed loves so much, Jon Jones. Alex Pereira has been in the UFC forever. Sean Woodson, won, but a lot of people think he lost his last fight. I thought he won. And then there's just names that people reckon. I don't know why they put Terrence McKinney on the prelims. He's never been in a boring fight. And I don't know. It's not the best fight card. It's not even the best main event. Obviously, was the Nascimento. Anytime you get heavyweights pulling off multiple split decisions in a row, that just screams oh, you're just going to get knocked out by Derrick Lewis real quick, which I guess is a cool thing. We could see some cool Derrick Lewis flying knees right out of the gate again. Derrick Lewis had a fun media day, but this is not anything special. I'm sorry.
Jed, Michelin star for this one, or is this
this
a fart card?
This is a fart system, but it's a good fart card. This doesn't have a Michelin. Actually, it maybe would rise. It probably shouldn't, but there are 2 things going really well for this. One, Derrick St. Louis is about to deliver a dope knockout, and everyone's going to be pumped about it. I don't know if you've had a chance to listen to No Bet Sport this week. Connor was not on his game and realized that Derrick Lewis and St. Louis have that overlap there until in the middle of the show. It was great. He's gonna do Derrick Lewis things. Fat Pat's gonna come on the speaker. He's gonna come. He's gonna knock a dude out. He's gonna do the Black Beast celebration, take his pants off, probably say something quirky and hilarious into the microphone, and the evening will end well. And mostly, Mike, there's one fight on this fight card that speaks to me at a molecular level. And it's not the fight you're thinking of, Mike, because it's Tabitha Ricci versus Tisha Pennington, formerly Tisha Torres. Because what I discovered when I was doing this and what came to me is that this is Baby Shark versus the Tiny Tornado. So that fight is the Tiny Sharknado. And I couldn't be more happy about a thing in my life than the hours I spent researching Sharknado after I discovered that this was happening. That's quality matchmaking in my book.
Do you have a bet on that fight? You have to, right?
I have a bet on that fight.
What
I've taken Tabitha Ricci because the shark is more important than the NATO in Sharknado. If it was just Twister, the movies doesn't hit as hard, but because it is Shark Twister functionally. Also, I don't know if you guys know a lot about the Sharknado universe. There's so much more to it than you think. There are
How many
6
are there?
Sharknado
Good
films.
God. I thought you were about to say 3.
No, there are 6 Sharknado films. There are 3 spin-off films. Lavalantula, which is fire-breathing tarantulas functionally like a volcano tarantula. Yes, in the 6th Sharknado film, they go back in time. Ben Franklin is a character in the 6th Sharknado film. What a universe. The Fast franchise dominates, but Sharknado.
What was that last amalgamation of words? The fire-breathing spiders?
Yeah, gigantic fire-breathing tarantulas, Lavalantula. So they took Sharknado and they're like, what if we did volcano plus giant spiders? It worked for Twister and Jaws. Let's do this other combo.
So now we need ice, and we need an ice creature now to complete the trilogy of elements.
Ice snake. Feels like Anaconda plus something
Glacier
like
snake?
that. There's
Avalanche.
Glacier snake. Ooh, snake avalanche.
Ooh. Just an avalanche of snakes coming down a mountain.
Anaconda Lanch. There's something there. We can work on this. We can workshop this. There are 6 of these films. I had no idea until I went into it. It was the best 2 hours I've spent in a long time.
Aren't there 5 Scorpion King movies too? So Sharknado has surpassed.
There are several of those as well. I don't know how many, but I know there are several of them.
I'm pretty sure Roy Nelson is in one of them.
That would absolutely track with what I know of that universe.
Jed, I think you just came up once the new Sharknado movie gets released. I think you have an article to write for MMA Fighting.
I
almost, like a 4,000 worder.
I'd probably this thing. I'm gonna have to go watch I watched the first one because like everyone watched it at that period of their time. It came on Sci-Fi. It was free. Else are you doing? I had no idea that there was one where they went back in time. Also, the Sharknado movie names. Let me pull these up because there are a couple of absolute bangers. Sharknado 5 is called Global Swarming. What an A+ name for a film.
Good Lord.
Oh my god.
I was also right, Jed, for your next MMA cinema thing. Scorpion King 4, Quest for Power, has Roy Nelson, Hoist Gracie, and Bigfoot Silva.
What's up?
And oddly enough, Rutger Hauer, star of Blade Runner, like is also in that movie. So
he
I
must
feel like
have
that
needed
you
to
gotta
check.
have that. I guess
wow.
So.
Unbelievable.
Last thing on the Sharknado franchise. The 10th anniversary, they did a theatrical release for Sharknado, and the poster just says "More sharks, more NATO," and it's
perfect.
It's chef's kiss. Like these people knew exactly what they were doing. I respect the shit out of them.
Yeah, I think some of those people might be working for Fight Circus right now because just the concepts and things they put together. I mean, it's just fantastic.
The original Sharknado poster is a shark in a tornado like Twister, and it just says "Nuff said." These people are geniuses.
Unbelievable. There's so much hype around that movie. We could talk about Sharknado and the history of that film and all the other movies we can make of that ilk another time. But Jed,
it's the main event card of the year because of this, though.
Okay, so if there's a storyline that you have your eye on, and it's not the main event, there's just no way, unless you are just deeply interested in the rise of Rodrigo Nascimento, which there are some people out there who just might be. What's the biggest storyline for you?
And I'm not allowed to talk about Baby Sharknado, I assume.
If that's what it is, then please.
I mean, that's the biggest storyline, but we already talked about that for the last 10 minutes, so we can move beyond that. The co-main event has some intrigue, but I'm going to go with the lone heavyweight fight just because Robles Espana is dope. I mean, he's fought 4 times. Yeah, he's a very, very big fellow and moves surprisingly quick for such a big fellow and hits people really, really, really hard. One could say that he is also a man who boops. And I enjoyed his first fight a great deal. And now he's taking on Waldo Cortez Acosta, who is like nominally a boxer, but mostly just kind of bad. And I think he's going to get booped real bad. And that's going to be awesome because then there's so much opportunity for a man with Robles' sort of background, right? Like an Olympian, a guy, a karateka or whatever, like a very accomplished martial artist coming in here, certainly older, but gets to come in here. He puts another highlight. All right, you've done it twice. At heavyweight, kind of doesn't matter if you maybe aren't the most well-rounded fist fighter that's ever lived, as long as you got certain set of skills, and those skills can kind of get you far. And so he goes out here and boops WCA real fast. Then we can start talking about, I don't know, just out of nowhere, Robles versus Jairzinho Rosenstrike, which would just be a delightful bit of anarchy. And then suddenly this man who has 5 professional fights or something that's astronomically low is now like, oh, I knock out Jairzinho. I'm a top 10 heavyweight. There's a world where he could be the heavyweight Alex Pereira. And at that point, I bet John would want to fight him because, he can't do any of the other parts of the fist fighting. But in a card that doesn't have like a lot of, there's one other storyline that I would draw to, but it's not nearly as cool as Robles Espana, who is a huge man who boops people real hard.
Jose, what do you get your eye on?
In terms of another fight to watch, probably Bruce Leroy versus Sean Woodson. I mean, Alex Caceres I think made his UFC debut in 2011. He was on that Ultimate season of the Ultimate Fighter, and once Matt Brown announced his retirement, I kind of went back and I'm like, who's the longest tenured tough veteran at this point? I believe it's Brad Tavares. I believe it's Brad Tavares.
Has to be. That has to be right.
But Alex Caceres and Michael Johnson are way up there as well in terms of tough veterans that are still on the UFC roster, not just actively fighting. And Sean Woodson, I believe, made his MMA debut in 2016, 2017. So Alex Caceres had already been in the UFC for 5-6 years before Sean Woodson even made his pro debut. Alex Caceres doesn't have the best record, but he's fought in a lot of high level guys in a lot of different weight classes. I really like speaking with Alex Caceres. His social media presence leaves much to be desired. Me and him don't really see eye to eye on most, sociological or economical things of the world, but me and him can talk about anime and kung fu movies for a long time. So we have that, and I feel like I've been covering him. Actually, I have. The first article I ever wrote for ArizonaSports.com when I was in college was an interview on Alex Caceres, so I feel some sort of connection with him. Sean Woodson was it Sean Woodson that called me out on when you interviewed him, Mike? Because I asked him about Max Holloway at a media scrum, and he recognized me from one of these shows on MMA Fighting. So anyone that's any UFC fighter that's watching, between the links or preview or post shows all the time, hello, Sean Woodson, and then calls me out. I also have some sort of emotional connection to you too, because I've only had nice things. Actually, we both had great things to say about each other in person. He has a weird neck tattoo. I had a whole interview with him just about his weird neck tattoo. So yeah, bad tattoos and kung fu and anime checks all the boxes for me in a fight.
Yes, I remember that interview.
Neck tattoo.
It says something silly, but he
I'm
got it, and then it's like one of his. It might have been his first tattoo. I don't know, but we interviewed him in Boston, and he's like, "I got it," and then tried to hide it from my mom. I'm like, "You got a tattoo on your throat and tried to hide it from your mom? Have fun with that."
Oh yes, that's when you
fear no man.
Fear no man. That's what it is. Yep,
he's no coward.
100%. It's be a good fight. That's gonna be a good fight. Alex Caceres. A lot of people feel like Sean Woodson's gonna kind of run away with this one because he's so big. But this is, these are the types of fights Alex Caceres plays.
100%. Is Sean Woodson from St. Louis? Doesn't he have the arch tattoo on his stomach too? That's hardcore.
I have no idea about that, but he is from St. Louis.
Yeah, I think he has the arch with the skyline on his stomach, with like a money sign underneath it or something. Or actually, now that I say money sign, it's probably just the St. Louis symbol from the Cardinals, like the STL.
Oh, probably is that. Yeah, that would make sense.
I'll tell you, we're gonna have, obviously we're gonna talk a little bit more about this card tomorrow, a little more in depth. But boy, Joaquin Buckley is a big story for me. It's
that fight's not gonna happen though, Mike.
Okay, you're convinced Rudzbaev's not making weight.
Not on this short notice. He's fought at welterweight before. Also, when I was researching, apparently his debut was at lightweight, which is 6'5" lightweight is a terrifying concept to even consider. But like, he's just not making welterweight on like 4 weeks or whatever it is. Like, I'll believe it when it happens, but I think this fight's not going to go through.
No. I'm going to tend to be a little more positive. We're going to see it, and we're going to see what Joaquin Buckley's made of. He's basically putting it all on the line here. And like, I know there are bigger fights down the road for him, but when he kind of drew all of this up after beating Vicente Luque, I assume Nursultan Rudzbaev was not the guy he expected to fight. It's a tough ass fight against a really good fighter who's on a great streak and just finishes dudes, very tall. And if he loses the fight, it's going to be to a guy that not a lot of people know. And we'll see what he does. If he goes out there and wins and finishes Rudzbaev and makes a great call out, then everything, I'm not going to say everything I said about him is wrong, but he will prove me wrong in a lot of ways. So I will be watching that fight very, very closely, obviously, and we'll see how it all plays out. Let's move on to more MMA fights, but this time, 2 MMA fighters fighting in the boxing ring, just on a different date than we thought. Point for round 3 goes to Jose Youngs. Nicely done. 2-1.
Nice.
Sharknado was great.
Lightweight does sound terrifying. Wasn't Will Chope like a 6'4" featherweight? He fought Max Holloway. I know that. He was a tall boy. I remember doing a deep dive on him, and he had like 9 fights in like 2 years once. I'm like, that doesn't seem
was
possible
6'4"
for a 6'4" featherweight. Max Holloway beat
the
crap out of him in his last fight.
Also, just an unacceptable level of height to weight ratio there. Jeez.
Yes. Well, guys, Nate Diaz, Jorge Masvidal, Fan Mio, they did the thing. They did the very smart thing. They did the wise thing. Fight's not happening June 1st anymore. The boxing match, that big event, no longer happening in LA. It's happening in Anaheim now. It's no longer happening June 1st, which also shares the day with some big boxing events. And of course, UFC 302, now happening July 6th. And There are things happening that day too. WWE's got, I think, Money in the Bank that day, and then Shakur Stevenson's boxing in Newark that evening as well. But they're not sharing it with UFC 302, so at least they're going to be able to get the MMA fan base to at least tune in more so than they would have on June 1st. So, Jose, I'll start with you. How much does the date change impact your interest in the fight now that, because we have to look at it from a different perspective, because when we saw June 1st and they announced this fight, the first thought we had was, oh, there's 8 million other things happening this day. It's going to be it's going to be a freaking marathon trying to cover the boxing, 302, and this fight. Now they took that off the table. We obviously lost better BF anyway, so that's another thing that's kind of off the table for June 1st. They're going to rebook that, but does this change things for you in terms of how you view the event, the matchup, now that it's happening a little over a month after it was originally scheduled?
Probably, because since the June 1st UFC pay-per-view is in Newark, I was going to that anyway, so I don't know how much I would have been able to watch the Diaz Masvidal match anyway, because I would have been backstage at UFC 302, doing my best to watch it. I mean, obviously it'll be infinitely easier to cover. I'm sure it's also the week after Conor and Chandler, correct? Like the weekend after. So there's more things to talk about. If Conor wins and Nate Diaz is about to fight, everything is going to be about Conor. Even to Jorge, because Jorge's had his issues with Conor as well. And if Conor is indeed have 2-3 fights left on his contract, and all of a sudden we're already after, it'll only generate clicks and it'll only generate more interest. So fans will probably be much more interested. I'm not having a fight. It was supposed to be at the Forum, correct? It was supposed to be at the Kia Forum. That was the original venue.
That's right.
Yes. The Forum is just, it's obviously older than the Honda Center in Anaheim, but the Forum is just a way better venue to watch a boxing match, just because of the history. It's in Englewood. It's closer to things. Anaheim has Disneyland, and that's about it. So yes, I am more interested. I think it looks bad if you're going to change date. What did Chael say? Like, if they change date, the fight's canceled. That's just how he goes. It's just how it is. They change the fight, they might as well cancel it. I'm not quite on that level, but it's definitely generated more interest because there's going to be less things going on, less eyeballs pulled. They should have done this date and venue to begin with. I'm sure people are already, if you were excited for this, planning your lives around going to the Forum. Casey can no longer walk there because he lives not that he was going to walk there, but he basically lives a stone's throw away from the Forum. Now he's got to go all the way to Anaheim a bunch. But it'll be better for the site, better for coverage, better for fans, because now they can watch all of their favorite fighters on different days, and it'll just be the Conor McGregor talk fight week leading up to that.
Jed, does this change anything for you? I mean, obviously this is the smart decision to make, and as Jose said, this was really the only decision to make, and it was probably the decision to have been made well before they announced June 1st to begin with. But does this change things for you now that it's not June 1st?
Sure. I mean, all the stuff is right? This was the correct decision. It's one of those things where you can't throw the baby out with the bathwater, right? Like you don't throw bad money after good money. You had to do this. It sucks that they did it in this timeline. Specifically, too, when you hear Masvidal give his interviews to Ariel and kind of other places, he specifically was like, yeah, we don't want to go head-to-head with the UFC. Nate was insisting on this date. I'm not sure why. It's bad business, but oh well. He knew it, and ostensibly that was part of the negotiations, and Nate has finally acquiesced. All right, we got to move this. Again, it is better to not kind of dig your heels in and take this L, but at the same time, I'm sure they had already sold tickets to the Forum, and fans were preparing for that. And I don't know if you guys are aware of this, June 1st and July 6th are two entirely different dates. They're not remotely near each other. They are separated by a month. And so people who had already purchased tickets and were planning, all right, we're going to go watch this event on June 1st. Actually, it's a month later, roughly the same location, at least geographically enough that it's not we're actually doing it in Miami now. So there's that part too, but it's still hey, we are doing it July 4th weekend. Do you already have plans with your family? Well, you can no longer come to attend this event, I guess. It was bad process to get here. And so it's just really stupid that it took whatever ended up making it happen. But ultimately, certainly for the at-home viewer and for us, it's going to be much better because instead of that being probably the second biggest thing for like us, at least, that happening that weekend, or maybe even the third, based on how much boxing interest is going on around then. Now we're talking about, okay, this is a relatively open weekend. I don't think there's nothing that I can think of that comes to mind that's counter programming them. And so it's just a holiday weekend. And so that's obviously where this should have happened all along. So big picture, it's the right move. The fact that it was so long and stupid to get here is annoying, but whatever, we're past it. Now we're on to new business.
And that business will take place July 6th, Honda Center, Anaheim, California. Nate Diaz, Jorge Masvidal, second meeting, this time in the boxing ring. Let's move on. The point for round 4 goes to Jed Meshew, 2-2. I wanted to rhyme. That's how it worked out. So here we go. Time for the knockout round. One question, 1 minute apiece. This will decide it all. Jed, what are we doing here? You want to go first? BC's not here, so maybe you want to go back to the old school ways of going first, because you don't have to deal with BC going for 3.5 minutes longer than he needs to.
No, we'll pass, just because I think I actually might know what you're going to ask, and I realize it's about a thing I haven't paid attention to, so I need to figure that out real fast.
Probably not, because I just thought of it 25 seconds ago.
Oh, well then, okay.
So, and it's theft. I mean, it's definitely theft. Because it was talked about. It's definitely theft. So we'll go to Jose. It is theft because I'm stealing this directly from the MMA Hour. Ariel brought something up, asked a few people about this, and it got me to thinking, and I might as well present it to you guys here to make your arguments. The question that Ariel presented is, if you could invest in one company right now, whether it be BKFC or PFL, who would you put your money towards and why? And I love this question. I think you can make prime compelling cases for both. BKFC has definitely got a lot more buzz right now. PFL slowly moving into different things. Hopefully they can sign some more names. But if you had $100,000 of free investment money, but you can only put that money towards one promotion, are you choosing BKFC or are you choosing PFL? 1 minute on the clock. Go. You're muted.
I lost 5 seconds. Don't even need it.
Give him 10 more seconds.
Don't even need it. I'm choosing BKFC, and not because I think it's a better product or has a better future. I think it's a worse product than PFL in terms of actual competition in sports. Yes, Mike Perry is very exciting, but when a bunch of fights end with freak injuries and you have more fights in the stands than in the ring, that's silly. I'm only choosing BKFC because now that Conor McGregor is an investor, he at one point was the highest and richest and highest earning athlete on planet Earth, more than Cristiano Ronaldo, which is just crazy to think that an MMA fighter did that. Conor McGregor seems to have, I don't know if it's him or the people around him, telling him to make smart business decisions, not smart life decisions, business decisions. So I'm going to hitch my ride to Conor McGregor because he has the proven track record. PFL, yeah, they have Francis and Jake Paul and all these other things. Their product is not great. I like MMA more than bare knuckle. Conor makes more money. You'll have more return on investment.
I mean, just a business savvy answer right there.
Yes.
Let's go over to Jed.
Also, RIP Art Jimerson. News just came out that One Glove Jimerson passed away.
That sucks, man. I just saw that myself. Yeah, tough news. Met Art a couple times. Super nice guy. Still wears the one glove to this day, or did to every time I saw him. Just living the gimmick. And yeah, much respect to an OG. Rest in peace to Art Jimerson. Condolences to the family. Now, Jed, I know it's tough to transition to actually have to answer a question after that, but here we are. This is why you are the man who's been on the show in competition now 85. This is now the 86th time. And counting the Q&As, you've probably been on the show well over 100. But here we go. You got $100,000. You can only choose one. Is it BKFC? Is it PFL? Where are you going? Why? Go.
So if it's $100,000, I'm definitely going BKFC. A lot of what Jose said is fair. Also, I think they're going to use $100,000 better kind of event. They can just use that money better, and I do think they're more popular. They just are. They draw more interest broadly. They can get further. Now, if instead you're like, hey, you are suddenly Turkey Al Sheikh, and you got all the money in the world, who are you banking? I would put it into PFL for two reasons. One, I desperately want them to be a successful product because the UFC needs somebody to hold their feet to the fire, and PFL is the best bet we got. And two, if I gave them more than $100,000, I might get some say in their promotion and get them to do things right instead of doing things stupid. And they desperately need a czar of common sense in PFL.
There's your answers. There's your answer right there. So what's the dollar figure, Jed, that would like take you to the next level?
I mean,
I realize $100,000 is like nothing, and I realize that
nothing.
like mid asking the question, but
in both of these scenarios, I'm assuming I can't just keep the money, which would be the choice I would make, because I would not feel either as a sound investment of my dollars. But I don't know, like 10 million probably buys me a way into making decisions at PFL.
Okay, fair. You wouldn't take that 10 million. You'd choose PFL over BKFC with 10 million.
Yes.
Okay, more so just so you could have some power and some say.
And I also believe that their product is more necessary than BKFC's. I think if you gave BKFC 10 million, they would just like, it would be great. And if you like BKFC, cool, but it would just be more BKFC. Whereas if you could give PFL 10 million, maybe you can make it a better product.
Fair. All right. Cast your votes, everybody. Get them in. Get them in hot.
First thing I'm doing as leader of either of these is I am teaching the cameraman of PFL how to white balance, and I am getting rid of that idiotic camera that spins around the.
Oh, you don't like the
BKFC? No, it's
you don't like the John Woo camera?
No, it absolutely sucks, and I hate it. And every time I see it, I go, "This sucks." But at least the cameraman knows how to white balance and color correct, unlike the people at PFL.
What would be your first order of business, Jen?
Oh, more graphics and stats. I just more of them on the paper. We need more. I mean, actually, my first thing would be getting rid of punching speed as the most useless thing I've ever seen. And honestly, the first order of business would be the power bar, Mike. We all know this.
Oh yeah, it
would revolutionize the industry.
Look, Kayla's gone now, so the wheel of Kayla is no more. But I loved that idea where Kayla just fought whoever she was fighting, and you had to spin the wheel, and whatever it landed on, that was the gimmick of the match. Kayla had one hand tied behind her back.
You know, the Fight Circus does have a wheel, right?
I'm sure they have one.
They do. It's terrific. It's an unbelievable thing.
Yeah, I mean the wheels are just the best. I mean, it makes everything better. It took Shaheen like 3 years to figure this out, but he is now on board with the wheel making everything better. It just does. Casey, do we have a winner?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Oh yeah.
I wonder who it is.
We're all winners because of Sharknado, guys. Baby Sharknado is the best.
True. This is probably
I looked up the lava lamp tarantulas or whatever you call it. I like how
lava lamp.
What is I forgot. So I looked up the Sharknado lore, and I learned that Sharknado 4 is called Sharknado 4 Oh Hell No, which is a great name.
Or The Fourth Awakens is the ultimate.
Oh no, that's a third one. Sharknado 3 Oh Hell No.
Oh, 3 is Oh Hell No. Okay.
Yeah, and then Lava Lantula, the second Lava Lantula is To Lava to Lantula, which is a great.
It's the best. It's the best name of all time.
That's a good one. To Lava to Lantula. Yeah, that's good.
These people are geniuses. Sharknado, Heart of Sharkness. Unbelievable name. It's absolutely unbelievable name for a movie.
The third Lava Lantula is called 2025 Armageddon, and it is a 25th anniversary of crossover event of the Asylum, which I don't know what that is, but it sounds crazy.
Knows? Who knows what any of these things are? It's the best.
Also, they've put out one a year for 5 years, which is crazy.
Dude, Sci-Fi Channel gotta keep making that money.
All right. Your winner today with 69% of the votes.
Nice.
I get it.
Draw an option.
Jed Meshew.
I don't believe it.
Hey, Jed Meshew. Nicely done. Sharknado rules all. By the way, Jed, I might as well just let you know and let you in on what has just transpired over the last few minutes in the Twitter world. Guess who's tweeting again? Jon Jones. Someone sent a comment
I'm
to him.
so happier.
Oh, no, I'm reading it. Do you agree with people saying you're holding up the division now? Two tweets from Jon Jones. One, no, I think it's great to see the UFC showing such a level of respect to their champion athletes. I've dedicated my entire adult life to the sport. I think I'm allowed to get hurt once. This injury was supposed to take up to a year to heal, but I'm already back in
people are talking about
progression. Tweet 2, and besides, there's not many people in the heavyweight division right now that are capable of creating super fights. If Alex doesn't move up in the near future, you're not really missing out on much. The belt will just be tossed around like usual business. There you go. Now take your 30 seconds.
In lieu of speaking on Jon Jones the Coward, I decided I'd read you the Lavalantula quick biop here, which is a television film that takes place after a series of volcanic eruptions in Los Angeles unleashed a swarm of giant lava-breathing tarantulas. I don't know what else you need to watch a movie, but you should certainly go watch Lavalantula.
This individual called Lazybed in our chat had 3 ideas. Wolfacane, which I assume is a hurricane of wolves.
Man,
Gatorquake, which is a bunch of alligators coming out of the ground after an earthquake.
That's a good one.
That's a good one.
And then Viper Blizzard, which sounds like Snakes meets Blizzard, which sounds
I think
also
Anaconda and
terrifying.
Avalanche has something there, but
Yeah.
Gatorquake is A+ work, Lazybed.
Yeah,
I'm deeply proud
Wolfacane-
of that one.
Yeah, Wolfacane, don't love. Gatorquake is great, and Viper Blizzard just seems like a band that Casey would go see later on tonight.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Some
that's
local bar
absolutely true.
neighborhood.
That's
That
a
would just
good point.
rock the shit out of the place.
I love this because this is like when Snakes on a Plane happened, and then you got to think about like bears on a submarine and stuff like that. Just like we make our own fun ones. This Gatorquake's a great one. I might write Gatorquake and pitch it to Sci-Fi. I'm
There's
sure
no
they would
way.
pay $4.
I feel like you could ad lib an entire Gatorquake movie and it'd still be great.
Dude,
Yeah.
I'm
Now you have your
really-
answer. Now
Can
you
I
have your
tell you
answer
guys-
before you invest your
Viper-
100 grand,
yeah.
Chad.
Can I tell you guys my actual? I have an actual idea for a movie that I think would be the best movie of all time.
Oh, please.
It's a
let's go.
movie about man-eating hippopotamuses that's just called Hungry Hungry Hippos. And it's the best movie that I've ever thought of.
How
Like
has
hippos
no one
kill a bunch of
written this
people.
movie yet?
How is this not a movie? How is Hungry Hungry Hippos the movie not a movie? It's the best.
Oh my god, that seemed like such a no-brainer for this streaming universe we now live in. Wow.
I'll work on that, and I'll get to work on Gatorquake and Lazybed. You can have some of my $5 royalties for that one.
Do I get a role in either of these films?
You're
Oh,
playing Dana
absolutely.
White.
I don't think we're gonna put Dana White in Gatorquake.
You're right, because Mike's
Might
gonna
just-
play him.
I'm gonna play Dana, according to them. I mean, yeah, maybe. All right, I'll take
Gatorquake
it.
is
I'll take
really
it.
good. I'm really, really happy with Gatorquake. Well done,
My
buddy.
family would be so proud. Hit the music, Casey. Let's go. Appreciate all of you. You guys are all the best. We'll be back next week. What are we going to be talking about? UFC St. Louis will be over. Oh, yes! We're back to the world's most famous Apex, I believe, from May 18th. And then we get a little bit of a breather before UFC 302. So, and who the hell knows what else is going to happen in this crazy sport of ours. Preview show coming up tomorrow, 1 p.m. Eastern. We'll see you then. For Jose, for Jed, for Casey on the ones and twos, the iconic voice of Esther Lynn takes you home. I am Mike Heck, back next week. Good night, everyone.
Love y'all.
This has been Between the Links, an MMA fighting production on the Vox Media Network.
Viper Blizzard! Viper Blizzard! Viper Blizzard!